it's one of the biggest camps in the world. And secondly, it's one of the camps with highest population density. Asian Bank is working together with the government and other partners to bring in water to the Teknaf area. Teknaf is an area that is short of water, not because refugees are there, it was there before. Everyone would think that the first thing is to plant trees. But the first thing that we had to address was actually provision of cooking fuel.
Do you have roughly the number of the trees that you planted, or you have still plant?
Around 3,000 hectares of
3,000 hectares of.
Yes.
The people don't know about it. Hello the viewers and the audience. Welcome to Panowa News English section. As you know, we will be talking with the head of the sub office of UNHCR. What UNHCR has been doing and what did UNHCR did in the past. We are not talking about it. But we are talking. We will be talking about some important issue today with Mr. Bazar, and he is the head of the sub office in Cox's Bazar. First of all, thank you so much for giving us the time. I know you are a very busy man, and welcome to Panowa News.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Glad to be here.
Thank you. It's an honor for us. And as you know, there are some things there are some important issues that we came to talk about it, but. As I know, the people are quite interested what is going on, what are the many issues to be resolved and how it is going to be resolved. But let me straight with you. With the number of the refugees, we have some conflicted data. Many say it is 1 million, many say it is 2 million, many say it is 1.5 million. If you please exactly say us, what is the actual number of the Rohingya refugees residing at the camps, especially if you can say from the beginning of the influx 2017, please.
Well, first of all, as I said, thank you for having me here, and I am glad to be able to shed some light on the different questions surrounding the presence of the Rohingya refugees here in Cox's Bazar. Bangladesh has historically hosted Rohingyas for several decades already, and I think as early as the 70s we had hundreds of thousands of people coming and then returning back. So what do we have now in the camp is approximately 1.2 million refugees.
1.2 million?
Yes. It's to be more exact is 1.1 and some hundred thousands. Million refugees. So this 1.2 million is comprised of around 40,000 individuals that we have here from the 90s, and then the majority of refugees now of Rohingyas are from those who were displaced in 2017, 2018. Those ones are roughly 998,000 as of now. We also have among this 1.2 million currently 140,000 new arrivals that the government has agreed to biometrically enroll last December 2024.
In a pure number, I must say in Bangla we say 12 lakhs. So if you say it is 1.2 million, it literally means 12 lakh. As you know, 1.2 million people, you have tremendous pressure. How do you work and how do you mitigate? How do you provide your services, and what are the ongoing projects that you are trying to help them to survive?
Just to give you a bit of an idea, because 1.2 million maybe in the context of Bangladesh that's not a big figure. You have still you are a country of 180 million. But one key feature of these camps worldwide is that it's one of the biggest camps in the world. And secondly, it's one of the camps with highest population density. There is no other camp in the world. And in general, like as a human settlement, there are very few places where you have this kind of population density of 47,000 people per square kilometer. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine how congested is the area, and with this congestion come a lot of challenges that we have. First of all, it is an issue with the fire hazards, with hygiene, etc. So this everything goes from that, and UNHCR and other UN agencies, NGO partners in all of the camps are working on a day-to-day basis together with the community, together with Rohingyas themselves, to address this issue.
As you said, you have elaborate programs. You are giving an idea. I understand how difficult it is, but at the same time, what the people are worried of, especially those who are working for the NGOs, civil society, and all of the people, all walks of life, they are worried about the fund crisis. And GRP will be disaster this year. So what are some of your techniques or some of your advocacy to raise the fund to continue the operations?
Just to give you a bit of an idea about the GRP, for 2025, the request from the humanitarian agencies providing assistance in the camp was roughly 900 million. So this year GRP is 60% funded. It was 60% funded. Now, I think everyone is aware of a sudden cut in 2025 that had a very significant impact on the services in the camp. So in this kind of context, when the funding has reduced, we had to look how we can adjust our programs to the new situation. So all of UN agencies, the non-governmental organizations, together with with refugees, we also had consultations. We had to focus on critical life-saving activities.
Right.
That was one thing. Even among those, because even for those critical life-saving activities, the funding was not necessarily in place for everything, so we had to prioritize. We had to take very difficult decisions to choose which services to leave, which services to diminish. In general, the impact on the response is related to the fact that now, for instance, the time for people to wait for their service is a bit longer.
Yeah. With delaying.
With delays. Yeah. Like if you just a random example, if you speak about health services, it takes now longer to get your health service in place because of less doctors, less provision of medicines, etc. If you talk about education this year, there was a very big impact on education. Children had to
problem with the teachers, problem with the printing the books.
But also it's about in general the provisions of education services. The funding reduction also called for reorganizing of different education services, and it took a bit of time for all of this to. Essentially, for all of us, it took a bit of time to adjust to the new funding reality. We had, I think, across organizations, there were a lot of staffing cuts. There were a lot of colleagues that had to go this year from different agencies. And of course, that impacted the overall capacity. Now, in terms of the general fundraising efforts, of course, we are going to continue to advocate for new humanitarian funds, because I think it's a shared responsibility. We are grateful for the government of Bangladesh to have dedicated resources and to have hosted refugees for now over 8 years. But it's also a shared responsibility with the international community, and we want the international community to continue supporting. Now, there are two other elements that I think are essential to safeguard the response, but also to ensure that all Rohingyas are getting the services they need. First of all, it's engagement with the development actors, such as the World Bank, such as the Asian Development Bank.
Many other stakeholders.
Yes, other development actors who can bring in different types of funding that will benefit areas, entire areas.
This is what I'm worried about. Yeah.
Where refugees are hosted.
And what
for instance, they can invest more than the humanitarian agencies in infrastructure.
Can do.
Just to give you an example, for instance, currently the Asian Bank is working together with the government and other partners to bring in water to the Teknaf area. Teknaf is an area that is short of water, not because refugees are there. It was there before. Refugees just put an additional burden on the local system. So this is the kind of projects that we need to attract more into the Bazar area that are hosting.
What is the
third
second
one,
element?
the third element, because humanitarian development, but the third element is, of course, the Rohingyas themselves. They also have capacities. Even like with these funding cuts, we were already doing a lot of engagement with the Rohingya community themselves to participate more in managing their own lives and to like not to be just recipient of services but also contributing on
which
their
can
own.
reduce your pressure a bit.
Yes, but so investing in the capacity of the Rohingyas to be self-sufficient is also another element how we can cope with this drastic funding.
Well, thank you so much for believing in
Yes.
Rohingyas community's capacity. They do have some capacities. The problem is we don't know how to utilize it. If you say we are going to utilize this is a very good news. But what about raising the fund? I know what you said so far about bringing the development sector, but many say to bring the non-traditional donors. Like, I'm not telling the name, but what about the non-traditional donors?
UNHCR is also very active engaging with private sector. I think this is that's globally, not only here. That's one thing. We are also we are very actively engaging with you can say it non-traditional donors, but these are donors that are now more actively engaged. I can mention the Gulf countries are now coming forward and they have raised the interest. We also have some recent very good development in terms of contributions to the Bangladesh operation of China, for instance, etc. So there are other, like we are not relying only on the donors that were usually providing a greater input, like US, European countries. There are other countries that can also contribute, also from this region, because Rohingya situation, Myanmar crisis is a regional crisis. It's not only for Bangladesh or for Myanmar. It affects all of the neighboring countries. So everyone has a saying and a contribution towards sorting out, including through funds.
Yeah, thank you so much. One of the most terrible concerns that we had when the influx started about the cutting the hills and deforestation, but it was great, praiseworthy work that UNHCR has taken that time. I remember when I was working as a developer, as a humanitarian worker, I myself planted the Bartivar grass. So like that, you have thousands of different kinds of plants to bring the forestry back. So what about the forestation and what about the tree plantation that UNHCR has got?
The fact that the trees were cut affected the soil, so it led to landslides. And I think you, being from here, you know that 365 days in a year, the country which is prone to climate change is suffering from floods,
disaster
during monsoons, fires, etc. So all of that has been exacerbated. So restoring the environment was one of the priorities to come back to the normalcy. One of, like, everyone would think that the first thing is to plant trees, but the first thing that we had to address was actually provision of cooking fuel, and that's the liquefied petroleum gas. It remains one of the major contributions of UNHCR and IOM in the camps, is provision of the gas. And that in itself already had a big positive impact. Around 900 tons of wood daily, it's being saved because of the use of LPG.
I see.
So that's a huge impact. And then in parallel with that, there was a lot of reforestation, plantation, greening the areas, because it affects the medium in the camp, the air, etc. So, and through that, it wasn't UNHCR. It was a joint effort by UNHCR, WFP, FAO,
government of Bangladesh,
government.
Do you have roughly the number of the trees that you planted, or you have still planted?
Around 3,000 hectares of
3,000 hectares of.
Yes.
The people don't know about it. If they knew about it, they will understand what some incredible, excellent job UNHCR is going to do. So another important issue is that, as you know, the RRC Commissioner, Mr. Mizanur Rahman, keeps saying always that the Nobel Peace Prize should go to the people of Cox's Bazar, people of the Rukhi and Teknaf, because they gave the shelter of like 1 million people. So it is very important for us to see a social cohesion and peaceful coexistence. So how much do you really work on it, and how happy are you with the both communities? They are still doing great together or without any issues to be reasoned?
First of all, once again, I would like to thank the government and also the people of Bangladesh for generously hosting 1.2 million. That's a sign of a huge generosity. And of course, one of the impact of hosting refugees is tremendous on all of the communities. Refugees themselves, but also the hosting. It's on the government, but also on the host population. I think it's not a secret that all of the camps in Cox's Bazar are among the local villages.
Local villages, yeah.
So one thing I think that the Rohingya response have created here is a labor market.
Yep.
You said earlier that you used to be a humanitarian worker. So the entire humanitarian response created thousands of jobs for Bangladesh. We have at least in the UNHCR office, we have a few hundred Bangladeshi nationals who are working.
Yeah, I know.
Quite a big number of them are from here, from Cox's Bazar, from Ukiya, Teknaf areas. Yeah. They are the locals. In addition to that, I would mention the fact that the interventions in the camp. I mentioned the situation about the water in Teknaf.
Yeah, you already
I can mention a couple of UNHCR interventions to bring water to the camps that also benefits the communities. And that's why I'm saying like having development actor to scale up, because the humanitarian response in itself, it's to address urgent needs. But in order to make them sustainable and serve in the longer term the local community, you need different type of funding. It's not the humanitarians that are addressing it. Right. That's one thing. Another project that I can mention, well, we mentioned the tree plantation.
Already
that was one of the key factors that benefit all. Host communities and everybody else.
Including the environment.
Yes. Related to that, it was the elephant response, like
make a corridor.
The camps and the local villages are on the way of the elephant migration routes. So the project that we implemented in the camp benefited both the host communities and the refugees, how to respond to, how to react to this. We have implemented the so-called Busy as Bees project that involves along, or let's say, surrounding the human settlements on the migration routes with the bees. These are the natural deterrent for the elephants. They would go around. So these are the few things that I can mention. There are many others, because like every intervention has an impact on both the local community, etc.
Yeah, that's great. I have only two more questions left, and I will leave you soon. So one important question is, I'm not talking about the partnering with the local NGOs. I know there are some criteria, there are some project proposals, there are some conditional specs that some NGOs should apply for. But do you agree that the local the staff of the local NGOs or the local NGOs have got the huge capacities? They do not have any language barrier. They know the local language. They know everything. So how much do you believe they have got the capacities?
Building the capacities of the local NGOs it's written in our policy. And it's not only that. Like in order to make the response sustainable, you have to have the local actors. And we have included local and national NGOs, because it's not only about the NGOs that are based in Cox's Bazar. We are talking about the Bangladeshi big networks of NGOs and national actors that are here, that were before we came with the response and will remain after. So that remains a key component, building their capacity, but also allowing them. And I can mention that it's a combination of all, of local and national actors. We, as I said, like we had to take difficult decisions, and because of the funding cuts, so we had to rearrange, but we still rely on many local NGOs for specific activities that they are built for.
Also language, also traditionally, culture.
Yeah.
Probably this is my last question. As you know, it is very important to know what the crowd wants to know, what the people want to know. You are also working on the other side of Myanmar, or on the other side of the border. This is related about the repatriation. So this is what we want. We want repatriation. Of course, we want repatriation, meaningful repatriation with dignity, with citizens' guarantee, and with safety and security. This is we also want, and it must be voluntarily. There is no doubt about it. So how much UNHCR is advocating in the world global stage of the mounting pressure, or just creating mounting pressure on the international communities to make it happen? Because repatriation this is what we need to know, and we want to be implemented, that Bangladesh can get rid of this huge burden.
When we speak about the solutions for refugees, repatriation is one of them, and it is the preferred one, because that allows people who were uprooted from their own country to go back to their homes, to go back to reestablish their own life and to have a future in their own country. When we look at the Myanmar situation, it's quite complex. It's not a very simple conflict crisis in itself. And one of the key requirements for repatriation, you mentioned it, it's to be voluntary in the first, and then secondly, it's safety and dignity. Now, unless there are conditions that allow for voluntary, safe and dignified repatriation to go, we have to work towards that solution. And even like everything that I mentioned until now, building the capacity, self-reliance of the refugees is forward-looking. We have quite a rich experience with repatriation, and from what we have observed in so many conflicts, crises around the world, the first to return are those who have resources. So, which means immediately that if we build the capacity of Rohingyas here to have the resources, they will be the first to go. Those who are poor, they will have to rely on all of our assistance to be able to go back and reestablish a life. So building their skills, investing in their education, investing in self-reliance is one of the huge steps towards building their capacity to be able to go back. The second one is the political process, that we have a lot of dedicated UN agencies. There is a special envoy for Myanmar who is specifically tasked for that. UNHCR contribution in all of this is, of course, to keep the Rohingya crisis on the agenda of all of the big actors. I think I think you are all aware that there was a conference in Cox's Bazar organized by the government in preparation for a UN conference in New York that was speaking about the Rohingya. It was a collective effort to keep the chapter of Rohingyas and Myanmar crisis in general on the agenda of all.
And the conference also took place there.
Yes, yes, and there are other efforts like that. Like currently, it's the Global Refugee Forum. We also organized a side event specifically dedicated to Rohingya. So all of the different branches of the UN contribute towards the resolution of the crisis. As I said, it's not an easy crisis. It's not it requires the joint effort not only of the UN but all of the regional actors and countries,
including the neighboring countries.
Yes, everybody has to. UN is a platform.
I understand.
Where you can raise these issues, but it's for UN is comprised of member states.
But how optimistic are you?
You see, I think if we invest in the peace efforts in Myanmar, I believe that we can achieve something. It will require, it's not an easy process. Yeah. It may not happen immediately, And that's why I think while we do this effort, we keep also the Rohingyas here. They need to take care of themselves. So it's not, you cannot say that one should be before the other. It's all concomitant and joint efforts to reach to provide basic services, but also to build those elements in Myanmar for them to be able to return back.
Well, Marcel, thank you so much for giving us your valuable time. And you explained it very well. So you really removed some of our confusions, some of the questions that we have been trying to get the answers. Finally, we got it. So the viewers, and you know what UNHCR has been doing, especially thank you so much for the greenery project, for the tree plantation. When the last time I went to the camp, it looks like it's so beautiful, like a tree village. So hopefully the UNHCR will keep doing this kind of work in the future. And here we end our very important conversation. Thank you all and have a good day. Bye.
Thank you very much.